Hey class, I thought I would take some time to go over the next assignment. You obviously can download or open the assignment sheet which you see in front of you and read it. So I'm not going to just read it to you. Instead, what I want to do is expound on what it is I'm looking for and what the purposes are. So remember that there's a couple different goals for this class. The first one was to reflect on what you've already done or on the past and valuing the degree that you have. And so that was really the focus of the academic portfolio. It gave you a chance to gather together things that you were proud of that you'd done, update them, talk about how they met outcomes, and do some reflecting, right? So the next part of the semester is going to be focused on the future or what comes next. So instead of reflecting, now we're projecting. One thing that often happens to English majors, as you well know, and the reason that we even have the textbook that we do, which is, this book about you majored in what, is that there isn't always an obvious connection between the degree that you're getting and a specific job. And so what I found is that a lot of English majors come out not at all prepared for the work world, scrambling to find a job, and it's still hard. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Finding work is going to be challenging no matter what. But there are jobs out there, and I want you to be as prepared as you can be upon graduation to go out and apply for those jobs and hopefully get those jobs because you got to eat. So, even though your passion may have been straightforward literature this entire time you've been in school, or creative writing, or language study, those don't always correlate to feeding yourself. You might want to be a writer, write the next great American novel. It may not pay the bills. So this is your chance to kind of think a little more pragmatically and using the skills that you have to actually leverage finding a position. So what we're going to be doing is a career portfolio. So it's a second kind of portfolio where you gather together things in one place. The benefit of this is that if you're graduating here at the end of this semester or in the spring, you already have ready and available materials to apply for those jobs. So if there's a job fair on campus, or if you happen to be looking online, you have everything ready to go. It's sort of a collection, if you will, that you can draw from depending on the job that you're looking at. So obviously, I'm not going to read this to you. The contents are going to include these 7 things. And obviously the overview memo is going to be something you write at the end. That one is just an introduction, and it's kind of your communication piece to me as your teacher about what choices you made and what you chose to include and not include, why certain things are formatted the way they are, that kind of thing. The rest of the contents really are things that you should be able to use in the future. So the second thing you're going to do is kind of like, most of you have done an annotated bibliography, okay? And essentially, you're kind of going to do that, but for job postings. And so one of the hardest things to figure out when you have an English degree is, what jobs can I get? What can I apply for? It's not like when you get a degree in engineering and you become an engineer, right? So one of the first challenges, and actually you're going to have a Google Doc brainstorm as your short assignment this week, is to come up with search terms in order to be able to find 30 jobs that you could apply for. That sounds like a lot, and it is. But you are not confined to jobs that are only in the Fort Wayne area, right? I expect you to be able to look nationally using a variety of different search engines. But the issue becomes, what are the search terms? And so the short assignment this week is to come up with as many search terms. How do you find writing jobs? What is it called in the workplace? In what's called the knowledge economy, or the buying and selling of information needs good writers. And so you are an asset to any company, but how do you find those jobs? So first, the short assignment is going to help you come up with search terms, and then you're going to use those search terms to find 30 jobs. Each of the jobs you find is going to have a sort of annotated bibliography aspect. You'll have the job posting, and then you'll have a discussion underneath, a little brief paragraph discussion of each job. Again, my hope is in forcing you to do this, that it actually benefits you, that you go into post-graduation life with a plan and with already having found 30 jobs that you could apply for, that you don't feel quite so dismayed or uneasy about graduation. The second thing that I'm having you do is something called elevator pitches. Here, let's minimize this. So there, ta-da. Okay, so elevator pitches you may have heard of before. Sometimes they're called elevator speeches. The idea is that it's a very short blurb about you and your abilities and who you are as a job candidate that you have rehearsed so frequently that you can easily, off the cuff, talk with someone in an elevator, presumably, about yourself. Okay? So what that means is, for me, if I'm at a conference, and it's usually like it's an academic conference, let's face it, I'm an academic, they could say, hey, what are you working on? And I could very succinctly and easily tell them in 30 seconds in a very long elevator ride, well, this is what my current project is about. And I say it so easily and so well that it doesn't sound rehearsed, it doesn't sound memorized, when in actuality, I spent time creating those little pitches about myself and memorizing them and rehearsing them so they don't sound like, your little robot. So there's two that I want you to create. The first one is about the research project that you're going to be doing for your capstone project. You may not have that information yet, and so we can always talk about that and come up with a second one. But then the other one needs to be about you as a job applicant. The kind of position you're looking for, the kind of experiences you've had, that sort of thing. If you were to record a 30-second elevator pitch, the number of words tends to range from, I don't know, 200 words, maybe 300. I'm not sure. You'd have to record yourself and mark it out. There's actually online generators for an elevator pitch or to help you kind of get on your way. Plus, we'll talk about it more in class. I'll have more information about them. So then here I say that they're going to be an in-class mixer event. Well, obviously we're not going to be able to do that, so I am going to, we're just going to cross that out. And this probably won't even be present in the version that I've saved to Brightspace, but this was the last time I taught the class we did this. Okay, the second thing that you're going to need is, along with your elevator pitch, is to have materials to hand out or to actually apply to jobs. So the first thing, obviously, is an application letter. I want you to actually put together materials for one of those 30 jobs that you found as if you were going to apply for the job. Heck, maybe you're actually going to apply for the job. That would be great. I've had people actually get jobs doing this stuff, so let's just do it. Cover letters are actually a little more challenging than a lot of people realize. Some of you have experience writing business letters, a lot of you maybe don't. This is your chance to practice that. The letter is going to be formatted, and you think of it as going together with your resume. It's a two-document process or item that you would hand to someone. Okay, so along with that cover letter, you're also going to have a resume. Now, you'll notice here, not just one resume, but resumes. Okay, I'm having you do two different kinds of resumes, and there's a method to my madness. So there's going to be a resume that you put together that is the shiny one, the one that looks really nice, that if you're actually in person at a job fair, you could hand to someone. It's the one that it has all the bells and whistles in terms of document design, which is another topic we'll go over. It just looks snazzy. The reality is that using those sorts of resumes have greatly reduced in the last couple of years. I would say over the last 5, maybe even 10 years, online applications have become the norm. And so what happens is that people have these really nicely done, with formatting and stuff, resumes, and then they're given like little cells that they can type text into in an application form online instead of that more personal touch of the document. So I'm giving you guys the opportunity to write two different versions. One is the networking version. That's the one that you could print and actually hand to someone. It's pretty, it's formatted. And then there's one I call the copy and paste version. This one contains pretty much the exact same information, but you remove all the formatting. So instead of a bulleted list, you have them all like flush with the left-hand margin. I guess for you guys it'd be the left-hand margin. And you use asterisks, right? Because bullets don't actually copy and paste well. The formatting gets all boogered up and it doesn't look professional. So this way, if you have this version ready to go, you can sit and apply for jobs by copying and pasting over and over into those cells for lots of different jobs. It's a streamlined process. Okay, so that's why I have you do two. And it's, again, to try and prepare you for the future. The next thing is a personal statement. Some of you are on LinkedIn. It's nothing I've really ever gotten into because as an academic, I haven't been part of the business world to need LinkedIn. We have like our own little sort of academic grapevine, if you will, that works outside of it. But especially if you're becoming a professional writer, a librarian, a content developer, what have you, you're going to find that you need to have a LinkedIn account, right? And so I'm looking at 150 to 200 words, a profile of who you are as an employee. A lot of times, especially when I'm working with engineers and they say you're supposed to have a personal statement, they basically start, well, I've always liked to fix things, and when I was a kid, they start way back. For you guys, no, don't do that. Say instead that you are a professional in these ways, you have these skill set, that you have this skill set, you work well in teams, just the blurb that describes you as a job candidate, right? Then the last thing, here's the tricky part. Okay, so because this is a portfolio and all those other documents are ones that you're going to create brand new, I also want you to have some professional writing samples. Now, for some of you, especially if you have taken one of the professional writing classes, such as technical writing or business writing or multimedia, that kind of thing, you're going to have plenty of documents already done that you did for class projects to choose from. And that's great. For a lot of you, though, if you were literature concentration, creative writing, or even linguistics, you don't have a whole lot of what I would call professional writing samples. And by that, I mean things like memos, letters. Maybe you built a website or a blog. Maybe you did a newsletter or a business report or that kind of thing, right? Documents that are found in workplaces. So you might have to create those for yourself, just for this portfolio. If you already have those documents, if they already exist, then I expect you to edit them hugely carefully, because this is the kind of portfolio that you actually would hand to a potential employer. If they're looking for someone who knows how to write, right, they are not going to want to have you hand them an essay on literary conventions, right? That's just not the kind of writing that they're going to want to know that you have. Instead, they're going to want to see examples of how you would write a letter of complaint, how you would, as an employee, respond to a letter of complaint. If you've developed online content, what kinds of things? If you've done any kind of marketing or visual kind of content, what does that look like? So this is the portfolio that actually gets handed to people. The academic portfolio can be helpful, especially if you're applying to grad school. That's, again, because it's full of academic pieces, that's what they're looking for. A business person isn't looking for an essay. They're looking for the kinds of writing that they want you to do on the job. So you might have to write several pieces. You have to have 4 sample documents. I'm going to give some helpful stuff along the way in the coming weeks for those of you who need to write it from scratch, or even those of you who have samples but want to write new ones. You can certainly do that. So down here is just submission guidelines. I'm not going to go over it. You're basically going to pull all of it into the same document, a single portfolio, just like you did for the other portfolio. And then there's grading criteria. So that's the gist of it. Hopefully me talking about it gives you a better sense of what it is I'm expecting. The gear that we're shifting into is very much focused on you need to eat. I want to see you be successful and write that great American novel. Absolutely. I want you to be an active writer in poetry circles. I want you to be passionate about languages. I even want you to be a really good teacher if that's what your goal is. But you have to prepare to get there. And if you don't prepare, you're going to flounder when you graduate, and that's no fun for anybody. So that's what this assignment's about. Obviously, if you have any questions, you can contact me at rumseys@pfw.edu. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.